Hey folks, thanks so much for coming to the Capitalism for Good podcast. It's here where we'll focus on exploring how we both make and spend our dollars to benefit the greater good. Folks, today we have Greg Moore, the president of Charlie Hustle. And when I tell you that I was excited about this interview, I don't think that even does it justice. So, Charlie Hustle is a staple in the Kansas City community. They're at the forefront of showing Kansas City pride, partnering with nonprofits and other for profit businesses, really trying to be out there promoting the community and promoting good within the community. And they're one of the first companies that I had thought of when I was kind of brainstorming who do I want to talk to and to hear more from. And it just kind of happened that I think I sent an email to, I don't know what random email I found, maybe just the customer service email. And I was in Kansas City visiting for a wedding, touring people around, my friends from college, and already like being the tour guide that I like to do, and kind of pointing out things that I loved about a city that I used to live in for so many years. And I was sitting in a hotel room with my friend Rachel when I saw that the president of the company responded to that email and was like, "Sure, I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to help out with this project." And he could not have been more gracious, kind, humble, and interesting. I am really excited to share this interview with you all, and I'm really excited to share this company with you all. As you will hear about, they have expanded well beyond just the Kansas City community, well beyond the Midwest. So they are available kind of all over the place. So hunt them down, take a look, see what you can do, and see the things that they are partnering with, because they are something, they're a company to really be proud of. And I am so proud to be able to share this interview with you all today. Enjoy. Thank you so much for being here. Do you mind introducing yourself, a little bit about Charlie Hustle, and maybe take us through the journey of like how you got to be kind of running Charlie Hustle.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. My name is Greg Moore. I'm the president of Charlie Hustle Apparel Company. Been here almost 7 years. Um, and yeah, Charlie Hustle, we've been around for 14 years. Our owner and founder started it 14 years ago. Classic origin story. He started it in his parents' basement. And the reason was his mom worked for Gear for Sports and really kind of developed the licensing department there,
Mm.
meaning that she worked with like colleges and universities on their logos and marks and whether people had approval to use said logos and marks on apparel. And so Chase at an early age had a front row seat to this crazy business, and he wanted to start and disrupt like that apparel market for colleges. Because at the, 2 decades ago, it was people would just throw logos and marks. There was nothing creative or unique about it. And he absolutely loved 70s, 80s t-shirts, especially those old graphics. And so he set out to start a t-shirt company with that in mind. And it just so happened that Casey Hart he threw in there at the last second. That was the one that took off. Helped by a number of things, whether it was the Paul Rudds of the world or Big Slick or helping the community. But the Casey Hart has definitely been established as our Kansas City's unofficial, logo. And Charlie Hustle's been a part of that story. And so that's really the story of Charlie Hustle. Since we've really dove into a lot of things, community has always been at the forefront, how we can support Kansas City, how we can support charity. And because of that, it's really allowed our brand to grow even more. To get outside of Kansas City, we really dove into collegiate licensing about 3 years ago, and that took Charlie Hustle into areas that we never thought we'd be. So how I became part of all of this craziness was Chase is by far and away a creative. He's a visionary,
Yeah.
meaning he has an idea every 5 seconds. He's slowed down a little bit because now he has 3 kids, but 7 years ago we met because I worked for an e-commerce company up north,
Okay.
and he happened to be there, and we were both getting coffee, and I said, "Hey, I just want to say I really love what Charlie Hustle's doing. It's a really cool company." He goes, "Tell me more about yourself." And so I did. And the short of it is I'm a Kansas City boy. I went to high school and grade school around here. I went to the University of Missouri for broadcast journalism, worked in publishing, and then met my wife, got my MBA from San Diego State. And from there, I got into software development, which
Okay.
then led me to an e-commerce company heading up their development team. And then they were like, "You want to help out with marketing?" And I said, "Sure." And so I learned all about SEO and Google Ads. And 7 years ago, Chase needed a right-hand person to really kind of organize the chaos. And as much as he had all these great ideas and he could design, he needed someone to organize the business and know what they were doing on platforms or being the chief of staff. And that's where I came in. And so it's been a really good partnership. I've loved every second of it. And here we are 14 years later as one of the best small companies out there.
Yeah. Truly a staple in the Kansas City community, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Since you brought up the college logo licensing, so that was one of the things that I was looking at. I hadn't realized how much you guys had expanded past. I mean, I knew obviously Kansas City and like Kansas and Missouri sports, but you also have wear for like Nebraska, Colorado, Iowa, all over. I know you've got a brick and mortar store in Kansas City, plus there's e-commerce that kind of gets you into all markets. Are there any plans or thoughts to have brick and mortar stores in any other areas outside of Kansas City?
Yeah, we always thought about it. And we've looked, whether it was the St. Louis or the Omaha, or even here in Kansas City, Country Club Plaza is the heart of KC. But, when you go south, Kansas City, that's where a lot of people really live. When you go north Kansas City, there's a ton of people up there too. So we've looked. It's really hard to manage brick and mortars, and we partner with a lot of wholesalers who are really good at it, whether it's the Made in KCs, who are all around the Kansas City surrounding area. And then we have a strong partnership with Rally House, which
Mm,
has 70 plus stores around the country that sell collegiate material and they buy from us. And then Dick's Sporting Goods, the college bookstores, Scheels is a great partner. So because of that, the appetite to really get into brick and mortar, even more for us and us controlling it with our team and staff, it's probably just that one store, and every once in a while we'll pop up, and whether it's a downtown store for 3 months or a Crown Center store for a few months, and we've had success with that.
I imagine also just e-commerce alone, like that part of our society allows you to be able to expand without having to deal with having all of the things that come from managing a brick and mortar store. Is that right? I mean, I'm
Oh,
sure other headaches in general as well, but
yes, it does. It makes it easier to go to market and be adaptable, and we can pull a lot more levers. For example, if our product team has an idea and the design is hilarious and funny, but we are sitting there as an ordering team going, I have no idea what to do here. Online, we could do like a pre-sale and not take on that inventory as a small business and see how it does. And then we're not like honed in on, well, we ordered 48 units, but there's only three sizes in small, and so we're sold out. Instead, we let like the customer demand it. And if there's five smalls, great, we can order for that and have it turned around in 2, 3 days. That just doesn't exist in brick and mortar. And the customers changed so much where when I started here in 2018, the retail store was by far and away not only our most uh, took in the most revenue, they were
mhm.
the most profitable, and that quickly changed. We dove really into the website, and then we dove into wholesale. And the fact of the matter is, wholesale, yeah, you're allowing upfront money to expand the brand, and that's worked very well. And then online, yeah, it's less risk. We're open 24/7. There's a lot of benefits there. Brick and mortar, though, don't get me wrong. It's like, especially on the plaza, you get people that'll stay on the plaza for events that they're in town for, and they see, oh, That's a really cool store Charlie Hustle has. Let's pop in. Oh my gosh, yes, this is a great way to remember our time here in Kansas City.
Yeah. I can tell you, I mean, I am a great test case for your online store. Before living in Louisville, Kentucky, I lived outside Seattle, Washington.
Nice.
And, you know, just having the tie to Kansas City, again, like I said, I think of Charlie Hustle as kind of a staple of the city. Great birthday presents, great things when I'm feeling homesick and I want a t-shirt, when we're winning the World Series or the Super Bowl, like to be able to like find t-shirts and like get them shipped in time is amazing. Thank you very much. I will give you my money for that time and time again.
We appreciate you being a fan, so thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about your process? You were talking about like choosing designs and like how does that work? Do you have an entire creative team that's dedicated to that? Are you getting recommendations for suggestions? Like how does that whole process work?
It's crazy. And we've changed it, I think, every 6 months I've been here because it's hard. It's really, really difficult. There's a reason that a lot of apparel out there is just putting a logo on a t-shirt or a hoodie. You know what separates us is the quality of the garment, which we do pay a lot for, but it's worth it. And then those unique designs. And so part of it is being very referential. You know, we might not come out and say this is a Kansas City Royals t-shirt. It might be something like Crown Town or very like playful. And so it allows us to be very unique and different. But internally, like we've had as many as 6 product designers on staff. Now we kind of lean into more the freelance. It allows us more adaptability as well as like it allows us to differentiate and see, maybe there's a young talented artist out there that they have a knack for this thing, designing for a restaurant, or they have a knack for this, or this person's really good at Casey Hart. But the constant has always been Chase, our founder. He is a creative through and through, and he obviously this is his baby, this is his company, and he has a really good pulse on what makes a Charlie Hustle design. And it's not as easy to say it like or write it down as we can in a lot of other processes. For him, it's almost like a wizard making their potion that you're just kind of doing it by feel. And that's a lot of the kind of the secret sauce that we have. He does that. Now we have people, whether it's me or a product manager or our VP of product operations, that he can trust and he can convey his message. And we know maybe the buttons to press to get the design on the apparel the right way.
You mentioned the quality. The quality of Charlie Hustle products. And I know we're talking a lot about t-shirts and you have more than t-shirts available, but t-shirts alone, I have always been impressed with the quality of the products. I have just solid colored like navy white t-shirts because they last. They are higher quality than like your $10 Target shirt or whatever that is. Do you find that that is a selling point or how does that factor into your calculus?
We surveyed our customers, this was about 3 years ago,
Okay.
because a lot of what we did internally was assumption based. It was, oh, people, people just like that were made in the USA, or they like that they're supporting small. And those assumptions actually ended up, they're valid, but they were not in the top 10 of things that our consumers. So when like 30,000 of our fans sent back survey results, it was it was honestly like, yeah, unique designs that played a part, but by far and away, it was the quality of the garment. And so you heard soft, you heard comfortable, you heard, I can wash this thing 300 times and it's still that quality.
Hmm.
And so that is so important to us because our manufacturer is the same manufacturer as Buck Mason, which is a really cool LA um, clothing store, and then Marine Layer, which is more of a national brand out of San Francisco. And their t-shirts, Marine Layer, for example, well, they're $45 to $50. And that's the same quality we have with our blank garments. So just before we put a print on it, we actually learned a hard lesson. This was about, yeah, 4 years ago. We were in the mode of how can we cut our cost? We're a small business. You got to find every angle you can. And so when we looked at our cost of goods, it by far and away it was our garment cost was insane. And so we worked with another manufacturer and we did it for just our hoodies and crew necks. And that year, our hoodies and crew necks were manufactured by another company. We saved over six figures. And it was so like game changer for a small
Yeah.
business. But just to give you an idea, our returns from online customers are about 3.5%. For an apparel company, you're usually looking at 8 to 10%, if not more. And we're like 3.5%, or we were. That year for our fleece, so our crew necks and hoodies, we were more in that 10% range. And so it wasn't worth it. We really sacrificed quality and it wasn't the same feel. We got a lot of comments about that. Our reviews weren't as great. Our return rate went up that we immediately switched back. It wasn't worth it. And same with t-shirts. We used to be the same as like a lot of small companies out there when I started, where we would go to Gildan or American Apparel and we would just buy the blanks and we sew in the tags. Well, that can be a very cheap outlet, but you wash those things, they deteriorate. Um, and so there was a choice we made so that we could remain relevant and that quality and that thing that people love. And it was to invest in our product garments, and it's paid off.
Yeah, sure has. It kind of similar to talking about like the calculus of making those types of business decisions when you're trying to decide who to partner, what products to put out, those kinds of things. One of the things that always stuck out to me about Charlie Hustle is one, your connection to the community. You mentioned Big Slick, put a pin in that. I want to go back to like true charity works. But there's also an element that I have noticed of Charlie Hustle where you support and almost make a stand for you're a Kansas City, heart of America company. Sometimes those things can be controversial, whether it is deciding to put out a pride shirt or deciding to put out a shirt that will raise money after the shooting at the Super Bowl parade that could be taken as a stance on gun control and like all of these things where people could potentially, draw certain conclusions. Does that factor into the calculus at all? Does that make you think like maybe do we really want to say this? Or is it vice versa? Is it like, no, we really need to come out and say like this is for everyone, this is what we stand for? Or do you try to like let things speak for itself or follow the community? I don't, you tell what's kind of your thought there?
Yeah, it's difficult. We can't help everyone, and at the end of the day, we're an apparel company. Like, we
Right.
can't solve world hunger as much as we want to. But the way that I've always told people, and the way that Jay situated Charlie Hustle is the KC Heart is a unifying logo. You look at it and it makes you happy. You look at it and it's for everybody. It's for everybody in Kansas City. It doesn't matter what color you are, what your sexual orientation is. It doesn't matter if you're old, young, whatever. That KC Heart is meant to kind of beat our chest and say, yeah, I'm in Kansas City and I love it. Or I visited Kansas City and I love it. That's kind of been our philosophy. Our former rallying cry was evoke happiness. Now it's celebrate your story, but they're both hand in hand. We just, we're here to make people happy. And when you put on a t-shirt, that should make you happy. And so, yeah, there's things that we've done. We've always celebrated Pride. We always have a new collection release. Now it's more in mid-May so that people are ready in June, but like it's
Yeah.
kind of a year-round thing. That to us isn't controversial. That's celebrating people. And if you don't want to buy the t-shirt and because you don't like that for whatever reason, then that's on you. In 2020, here face masks were a thing, and I don't know if that was controversial, but months later, there was the Black Lives Matter
Mm.
protest, and we did a collection for it. And yeah, there were some comments, but overall, it was like people understood we were trying to give back to other communities, and we did. And probably the most controversial thing we've ever done by far and away. And apologies, I forget the year. I think it was 2022. In January, our Kansas City Chiefs won a huge playoff game. Patrick Mahomes' wife gets really excited, sprays champagne. And
Oh yeah.
Chase texted me that night and said, "It is crazy how much slack she is getting from other fan bases, from our fan base." And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I said, you know what? We have her contact information. We should do something. And sure enough, um, Chase proposed to Brittany Mahomes, Patrick's wife. What if we did a t-shirt, a big campaign, and we gave back to an anti-bullying campaign? We made it happen in 24 hours and she was all in. And all it did, it was a gold t-shirt in red print that said Team Brittany. And we raised over $35,000 for Red Card KC, which is an anti-bullying organization, 501c3 here in Kansas City, that helps kids recognize and report bullying. And she had one Instagram post and it just blew up. I mean, we sold over 2,000 units of that t-shirt. And it kind of shows that like a lot of companies steered clear. They were like, no, we're not going to touch this. Like, that's Britney's thing. And we were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. She's one of us. Like, she's a Kansas City person. Like, we're going to defend her and we're going to raise money for a great organization. And we did. And so I think, yeah, we have internal conversations. There's a lot of, hot button issues out there now. We released a dog, you know, stuff last week and we heard a lot from the cat people. There was no
There's always
cat.
going to be controversy, even when you think there won't be controversy.
Always, but our MO is, we're we're just an apparel company. We're having fun, and we represent Kansas City. And the way we see it, we're not just representing one individual. We're not just representing one group of people. We're representing all of Kansas City.
I love that so much. I am also a little disappointed that I hadn't been as keyed into knowing what, because I also would have been a purchaser of that Team Brittany, especially I think I was still in Washington at that time. And I got questions about it all the time. Like, what do you think of her? And I was like, I don't know. Like, she's here. I guess that's great. But like, I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion, but like, people had thoughts. People probably still do, but
Oh, they still do, yeah.
but I like that it almost sounds like you're turning controversy or potential controversy or certain moments like into a more positive thing. Like you're flipping the script and like taking ownership of it. It's amazing.
That's exactly what we do. I mean, the last two elections, we've done like a vote T-shirt.
Mm,
We were not about to get into like this
vote for
person or
who?
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but like a rallying cry to like just do your civic duty, go and vote and celebrate that. That we always try to find that angle and make it a little different to where it's something that, yeah, maybe not millions will get behind on, but maybe thousands will.
Has that been something that has been a theme or an interest of you throughout your career to be in the business of either giving back or standing for certain purposes or anything like that?
For me personally,
Yeah.
definitely. It's honestly what drew me to Charlie Hustle. I like small businesses. There's just something about it where you can get your hands involved in a lot of different things. You learn so much. It allows you to be adaptable. And there's something about that. I don't want to sit at a desk and just do the 9 to 5 gig. More power to people that can. But I come from a family of, I have 4 siblings. We're all different. And my dad was a news anchor. And so he would come home and he would tell all these stories, and he was telling other people's stories. And he was really involved. And my mom, she was an English teacher. And so, we never made grammar mistakes. And both of them had in them, they both came from nothing. Both were raised really poor. And so they instilled in all 5 of us, like, hey, you go and do what you want to do. Make sure that you're working hard and, good things come to those who hustle. But you got a whole swath of people that if you don't build that community, like it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
If you're looking to be on a yacht somewhere in the middle of the Caribbean, great, if that's your dream. But who are you dragging along with you? Who's your tribe? Who are you making better, and who are you helping? And so for me, like my parents helped start the Dream Factory, which is like a localized Make-A-Wish here in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Um, and my dad would drag me along to every single event Didn't matter if it was a Chiefs game that maybe a seriously or chronically ill child got to meet Chiefs players, or a baseball game, or even like a picnic, or seeing what their dreams come true. And what it taught me was, you know, it wasn't all about me. It wasn't, oh, I want to go meet Bo Jackson, or I want to meet Joe Montana, or I want to see this Chiefs game. It was like, here's a kid that, in all seriousness, might not be around in a couple of years, and their hardships completely outweigh anything you have in your head and can have convinced yourself that is weighing you down. And it gave me a great perspective of there is so much more to this world that when, I have two young children, and, when I move on, I want them to know that their daddy made an impact on this world, on this country, on this city, so that they can do that as well. So it's not, when they grow up, yeah, I was this or I was that. It's what legacy did you leave, and how did you affect others?
I'm going to take a little bit of a left turn here, but I'm so curious. So, if your dad was a news anchor, you have a degree in broadcast journalism, your mom's an English teacher. Have you yourself dabbled or considered a career in anything within the broadcast or the journalism field? Or maybe this is an and question as well. How do you take those skills and use them into your
Mhm.
position other than right now in this exact moment?
Yeah, I wanted to be on ESPN Sports Center when I was growing up. I loved sports. I loved all the stories involved. I loved the games. I would turn off the volume when I was little, and I would announce the games myself. Or if I was playing video games, same thing. I would turn off the sound. I would just announce it the whole time. And so that always appealed to me. And, it's kind of what my dad did. And I loved writing, and my mom gave me that. And so it all made kind of sense. That's why I went to Mizzou. They have a great broadcast journalism school. You work for the NBC affiliate there. And I did. I was a producer, I was a reporter, I was an anchor. And it was like a month before graduation. And here I was sending out my tape and getting the low level offers around the country and trying to decide what I really wanted to do and where I wanted to go. And I had to report on a car accident on 63 Highway. And when I got there, the mom was there. Her son had just passed away. And I don't even think it had been an hour. And I had to put a microphone in front of her face with my camera and ask her how she felt, what she was thinking. And it changed. I could not do it anymore. It made me think like, I don't want to, I don't want to be that person that is part of their worst day ever. And, even in sports nowadays, let's say I'd gone the sports route, that still happens. Sports is not what it was 50 years ago, or as though how do you think about that game? There's so many social dynamics now. There's so much, you got athletes getting in trouble. There's so much money involved. Like there's moral items that no matter what, if you're in news, there's always that bad side, and you're the person having to get those answers. And so that turned me off from it, where I just didn't have the same passion, and it made me pivot where I wanted to do more, getting my hands dirty and telling other people's stories, sure. And I think that's the thing that, broadcast journalism taught me was I want to celebrate stories, and I want to, t-shirts, hoodies, crew necks. Those are part of those times. The Casey Hart vintage blue t-shirt, that became part of the Royals going back to the playoffs and World Series stories because Paul Rudd wore it and said, "This is my lucky T-shirt." The Team Brittany story I told earlier, that was part of a story in time that now I can harken back to and say that was really fun. The face mask, um, we launched face mask in April 12th, 2020, and that's just a little of that story. Like that year was so busy because we got the Nebraska license. We started a 501(c)(3) charity. And then I still remember being on the phone with our lawyers, and they said, "This might blow over. I would not shut down your Plaza store." We shut down our Plaza store, and we continued to pay every single employee. We kicked every single employee out of our office for 2 years. And we continued to, pay them wages. We still got things done. We still made things happen. And so, you know, what journalism provides you, and when you're, even in your role, you're asking other people questions. One, you learn a ton, um, but it teaches you to become an expert really fast in certain fields, and that's what I became. I could retain a lot of items and then put a puzzle together really fast because you always had to remain adaptable. And whether it was as a chief operating officer, as the president here at Charlie Hustle, there are so many times when I've had to pivot really fast or get very creative on things. And that journalism background helped me out so much, and it has served me so well.
I love that so much. And this is really like just a passion project. It is a personal, selfish research project that I have where I just want to talk to other business owners and leaders about the things that they're doing and the positive decisions that they're making because so many of us have stories and experiences with companies like taking advantage or making some decisions that we might not agree with. And like you kind of the saying exists that like people leave managers instead of leaving jobs for a reason. But I am constantly thinking about just like we all pivot, we all have needs to pivot. The skill of adaptability and being able to continue to thrive and survive is so key. But yet at the same time, from a business owner, like, or from a business leader perspective, we're looking at like you need stability in order to kind of sustain through all of the chaos that is life. So this is a big, long, loaded question to be like, how do you view that as a leader? You know, things are changing. It feels pretty volatile sometimes. Our economy is up and down. Rules and regulations change all the time. Like, how are you managing to find stability to be able to, like you said, you kept your employees there for 2 years. Like that's amazing. How do you build a business model that allows for that while you're still planning to pivot and adapt through all of these different things?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Great question. At the end of the day, it's like dealing with a team, dealing with employees, I'll say, but teammates is like raising kids. And I don't have all the right answers. I have no, there's a lot of days where I'm like, I have no idea. But you know what? My kids, they're turned 10 and 7 this month. What they love is that I will always show them empathy and compassion first. I'm always going to listen to them. And so they can trust me. I'm never going to just immediately get mad or reactive. Um, and I always tell them, when they make a mistake, I want them to tell me about it. And then we're going to talk about like what they learned. And it opens itself up to like great conversations. And so like our kids will tell us things that I bet other parents they have no idea about their day. Like we're always curious, and it teaches them to be curious. Teaches them to be kind. And so basically, like leading from a place of good intentions and of just like pure love. And so with the Charlie Hustle team, and we've been everywhere. We were as many as 27 full-time employees a couple years ago, and now we're like in that 20 range. But whether it's a constant, they know, oh, Greg is here. And if Greg's not here, I can get a hold of Greg. That's one, but it's really like, every month I have a check-in with my direct reports, and then every quarter I meet with every single person. So if you're fulfilling packages in our warehouse for our online customers, you're still getting FaceTime with me. And that's not, posturing. That is your opportunity to be like, do you understand the strategy of the company? Do you understand where we're going? Where do you want to go in your career? What are the things that are really bogging you down or stressing you out? What are the things that are making you really happy? And just being there and listening and like again, just wanting to help out. that goes such a long way where you have like really, really good conversations, really intelligent conversations to where it's not about micromanaging. It's not about like, oh, you did this wrong and you're on a 60-day probation. It's more like, hey, you're an adult. I trust you. And did you learn from it? What'd you learn? Great. Make sure it doesn't happen again. That's fine. That kind of open environment has allowed us here at Charlie Hustle just have like a really close team. We had actually a consultant come in a couple months ago and they were meeting with me in the afternoon and they said, I'll be honest, like I'm really surprised. Like you all had lunch together up there and it wasn't because it was like paid for, it wasn't because like that does not happen at other companies. It's like, well, yeah, because we get along, we've been through it, we all make things happen. Like our ideas come to life, and it doesn't matter. It's not the Greg show or the Chase show. It's we listen, we want people to really excel, and that makes us all really close, and we're looking out for each other. Even if that looking out becomes, hey, I don't like it here anymore, and I want to explore something else outside of Charlie House. Great, that's let's get you there. Or hey, I have this friend that would love to be part of Charlie Hustle. How can we help get them there? Okay, let's talk about it. Like it's really hard when companies look at those profit and losses, look at those assets, and we all just become numbers on a page. And when you're doing small company work or you're doing charitable work, and honestly, if you're a big company or mid-size, you gotta take a step back and realize, like, man, I'm not the only one getting this, um, to the top of this mountain. I need a team, and how are you going to make that team go? Just like what I do with my kids, you gotta listen to them, you gotta lead with your heart, and you gotta make sure that we're all rowing in the same direction.
I one time had a mentor of mine that I still go back to 15 years later for advice and questions. And I try to keep this in the forefront of my mind at all times of like, managing employees is not just within the confines of this job. Like if you're going to be a true mentor, like you should be mentoring people throughout like job changes, career changes, like all of those same things. And like you never know when that person is going to come back and be your VP one day or be your client or wherever that is. And it might take 20 years, but you got to be able to let those people like grow and really treat them as people regardless of what their like role in the moment might be.
Oh yeah. When I started at Charlie Hustle, I just developed like a catchphrase, and it was because like there was so much stress. People didn't know what was happening. One, I was a change. I was trying to have more visibility and accountability. I was trying to get our metrics lined up, and things that could really give us a better infrastructure as well as grow. And some things worked, some things didn't. But at the end of the day, if like someone got stressed out, or I got stressed out, or what if someone's mad, I would always say, "We're just making t-shirts." And it kind of became that like calming force that, even if that's not a true statement, it was more take a step back. Like, what are you really mad about? Or what are you upset about? Or why is that really it? Or what are we trying to do here?
Yeah. Obviously, Charlie Hustle and your background, like so much of it is associated or tangentially related to sports. I grew
Mhm.
up in a sports family, playing sports, watching sports. It's a big wave. We connect on things. And I've always carried those types of philosophies and themes into my like work life. I'm sure everyone around me is so annoyed at the amount of times that I compare like CEOs to coaches and general managers and quarterbacks to like team captains and all of the like to team leads and all of these different things. Like everyone's got their own role, everyone's got their own specialty. We got to all work together with the same vision and same goal. Like, do you share any of those types of philosophies of like overlapping business and sports at all?
Oh yeah. I mean, we use all the metaphors around here too. But look at Charlie Hustle. Like
Your
I mean,
name alone.
yeah, Charlie Hustle's a very old colloquialism, and Pete Rose, RIP, like that became his his title. And like our business model is so predicated on like, yeah, the Casey Hart, sure, that's hometown pride. But even the Casey Hart, a variation of it was on the sleeve of the Kansas City Monarchs in 1942 when they won the Negro Leagues baseball title.
That.
And yeah, and then even like what has made us really successful is like the ability to tell stories when they happen and be in those moments. So Chiefs have won what, three Super Bowls here in the last 5, 6 years. We were part of those stories. We were making T-shirts, even if they were referential or they were in conjunction with the Kansas City Chiefs. The KC Current is one of our most popular professional franchise licenses, and it's because it's like, well, the team's really good, but it, like a stadium that's on the riverbank in Kansas City by downtown, like that's really fun. Kansas City Royals, we have a license with Bobby Witt Jr. And when he came out last spring and said the boys are playing some ball, we immediately had a T-shirt that said that with his signature on it, and it became one of our best sellers. And so sports and our business have always intersected to the point where like our largest revenue months are when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, or the one in company history was when the KU men's basketball team won the basketball title in 2022. It was because it was such like a big celebration, a big moment that people were clicking by because it was like you never know when that stuff will happen again. And they wanted to celebrate it. So we've been very fortunate that sports teams, especially in Kansas City, have done so well, and it's helped Charlie Hustle really succeed. But it's also the lesson we learned where the Casey Hart, for example, there's a reason it means something for people who have either lived, been born in, even been through Kansas City, because it's a heart with the interlocking Casey, and it's like perfect. It's so simple, and it means something to us. And it means something if you've experienced something in Kansas City. To do that and just say flippantly, let's do a STL and a heart, and that's how we'll get a St. Louis crowd, or let's go to Des Moines or Omaha or Oklahoma City or where have you, and just do the same thing. It doesn't work. And so we had to pivot years ago and say, how do we get into other markets? Well, what do people care about? They care about the colleges and universities that are in that market, whether you're an alum, whether you're a student there, or whether you live in the area and it means something to you. And why does it mean something to you? Well, sometimes education, but for the most part, it's those student athletes, it's those sports. And so that's how Casey Hart taught us a lesson. But yeah, we have Iowa Hawkeye fans, Nebraska Cornhuskers. We now have the University of Texas Longhorns.
Oh my
I
God,
mean,
good for you.
we have Arizona and BYU and Utah, and it's like
You're
all
not
these
even
like
Midwest anymore.
it's true. It's like we say middle of the map, and it's still pretty true. But now we have West Virginia, University of Central Florida, and those fans buy from us because, again, those logos, those marks, those designs mean something to them because those are stories that they tell. So, it's not just like hey, so and so leading this project here at Charlie Hustle, you're QB1, or man, you really hit a home run, or that was a slam dunk project. That's fun, like sports colloquialisms and stuff like that. And that's definitely a part of our culture. But it's more about really celebrating stories through apparel. And at the end of the day, a lot of that is sports.
Yeah. And kind of thinking about a similar thing in just like partnerships and meaning, I put a pin earlier in your connection to nonprofit work, charity work, things like the Big Slick. What other types of partnerships? Like I want to give you an opportunity to plug other partnerships that you have going on, events, anything like that that we haven't touched on that is important to kind of highlight.
I feel like we've worked with every 501(c)(3) in Kansas City, and it makes it really fun because there are some cool stories out there. By far and away, my favorites, KC Pet Project. That we call them Communi-TEES, where we give back proceeds. Try to give them like a month, 30 days of awareness, and we amplify them. And we try to do like 12 or 15 of those a year. But Casey Pet Project, the Nelson Atkins Museum, the last 2 years they've done like exhibits. They did Monet 2 years ago, and so we did like a Monet Casey Hart. those are really fun. Obviously, we're always involved in Big Slick that raises a ton for Children's Mercy, and that's really fun
Coming up
and
here soon, right?
great branding. But on it, it's like the little small ones that people will come up to me and say, "I would have never known until you all did a T-shirt." I
Mm-hmm.
believe it was last year. We partnered with Girls on the Run, which is an organization that really promotes little girls just becoming active and really taking great pride in finding confidence through that. And that campaign did so well. And it was a really fun campaign that seen here in a month. We worked with the Rose Society, which is a 501c3 in Kansas City that helps. Loose Park is a park right off the plaza, and they have a beautiful rose garden. And so we'll work with them on a KC Heart t-shirt. They'll raise money for what they do. And that stuff's really fun. Outside of that, we we were part of 1K for KC. That was actually Chase's brainchild, and it raised funds during COVID, the height of COVID, where unfortunately there were people that lost their homes. And we helped through the money we raised enough to like house and pay rent for 100 different families. And we're an apparel company. Like
Yeah.
we're just making t-shirts. Or even when the unfortunate shooting happened at the Victory Parade, because we are located in the East Crossroads, that's a half mile away from us. And we were packing Super Bowl orders. When they listed off, because then we worked with United Way and raised funds through a t-shirt that we did, when they listed on the news like who had donated the most to United Way to help those families that were affected by the shooting, it was Travis Kelce, $50,000. It was Taylor Swift, $50,000, and then it was Charlie Hustle, $50,000. And those are the type of things that we're always trying to be a part of. And so, yeah, we have some plans. Like we'll celebrate Pride again this year. We're going to do a partnership with the Veterans Community Project this year. We did a really cool shirt just a month or so ago with the Royals Foundation for their reading program, and that shirt has sold very well. It's helped raise a lot of funds, and the aforementioned Rose one. But that's one thing. We will always listen to a 501c3, and if there's a way that we can help, whether it's a gift basket, a t-shirt campaign, or even swapping a gift card, like that's always been really important to our DNA.
Yeah. I I know that you said that you say this slogan so that you can like drop the temperature down of certain situations, but like that alone is just proof that you guys are so much more than just selling t-shirts. Like it's so incredible and you guys are such a great example of how you can build a solid business, you can build brand loyalty, you can build a community that also like employs people. At the end of the day, like a lot of us have to have jobs and like you can build that around principles of good and promoting other organizations. I can tell you that from my background in the nonprofit world, it is invaluable to have a company give free advertising and awareness by just having your logo, whether it's like, even if it's something small, like on the back of a t-shirt or in an Instagram post or something like that, to be able to not spend your donations on those kinds of things and to also not put your brain into it so that you can like serve your clients however you're doing it. It is monumental. It's huge.
And that's a good point because that's often people are like, well, how much did you raise from this campaign or that campaign? Well, in 14 years, we've raised like $2 million to local charities. And yeah, Big Slick's involved in that.
Yeah.
But that's unheard of for a small company.
Yeah.
But like we've had campaigns, even in the last couple of years that maybe the check I was writing was more of the $500 variety. That's just one aspect of it because you're right. At the end of the day, you're being promoted on a company that people are following. We have over 100,000 followers on Instagram, and we're amplifying that brand, that organization. And I've heard from these organizations that, because of that campaign or because they sold a T-shirt, we actually had great conversations with some of our the people that donate to us, and then we got new people, that were donating. And it wasn't just the T-shirts; it was beyond that. It was because, yeah, for, whether it was a month or 6 months or a year, we put a microphone. We provided the microphone for them, and they amplified their organization and told their story, and it led to even bigger things.
Yeah, I love that so much. Okay, my final question before I let you go here is, and this can be anything, big, small, there's no really restrictions here, but what's another either person or company organization that you want to shout out that you see is out there doing it the right thing, the right way, whether that's a boss of yours, an old coworker, someone that you're a customer of, could be absolutely anything.
Oh man, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna do more of a national one than more of a local one.
Yeah.
And so nationally, like, I mean, kudos to everything that Patagonia does. They're in the apparel industry as well, but they do so many things that a CFO or a finance person or the advisory board would be like, do not do that. That is ludicrous. And they do it. And again, in a smaller scale, it's kind of like what we do at Charlie Hustle, where it's like, yeah, it's not all about the money. We want to make a difference. They do that all the time, and they really truly are making a difference, even in things that people might find controversial or might not find as important as some of us, which is whether it's the environment or the ecosystem and giving back to nature. Like I think they deserve all the flowers they get. Um, Locally here in Kansas City, Ruby Jean's Juicery is a really cool story, and Chris Good, I consider him a friend. And it's like it's so weird to think like making juice and healthy food would be a good business model, and he made it happen. And he has a really cool, unique story, about his mom and why he did that. But he literally opened Ruby Jean's Juicery, which from our headquarters is maybe like a mile or two away up the road. And he went in an area where not a lot of people were building and making things happen, and he did it. And he made a business that not only did people like seek out because it was unique, whether it was a juice that was healthy and a good lifestyle choice, he put it in an area that he didn't need to. He could have easily have put that in an area where there was a lot of money and a lot more consumers, and he didn't. He wanted to invest back into what he did. And so I bring that one up because one, they're delicious and they do a good job. But Chris is a really good human being, and he's done so much more than Ruby Jean's Juicery, which is starting to get a lot more national distribution. He served on the Parks and Recreation in Kansas City because he sees the value in those areas, especially as we continue to get more and more into this 21st century. That's a lot of it's unavoidable. You've got to lean into technology, and I have a 7 and 10-year-old that they'll be on screens, but the importance of having that sense of belonging and community in all areas of Kansas City and all areas of this country. That's what I grew up in, where you went to the playground and you met people and you had shared experiences and you were active and you were running outside and you learned to problem solve in real time. And that is so valuable and important, probably even more so today than it was when I was growing up. And for Chris to, make time for that and do that while also running a small business is definitely to be commended as well.
I love that so much. I'll put links for both of those in the show notes of this show as well. Thank you so much for doing this and taking time multiple days out of your day to try to arrange this. I really, really appreciate it. I wish you all the best. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, I appreciate this. I'm glad we didn't have any tech issues this time around. It was a fun conversation. It's always fun to talk about just the journey of Charlie Hustle and everything I've seen.